Awesome, and we should be live. The topic today, we're talking about flush latches. It's a little bit of a drier topic, but something that I think is a really easy, from a labor perspective, project that you can do to really dress up your boat and make it look a little bit sexier. So real quick before we start, I want to clarify what we describe when we say a flush latch. It's commonly called a slam latch. So Jared will be my Vanna White here. I think most boaters are probably familiar with what we call a cam latch, which you open and you twist and a cam moves and you're able to now release and open the door.
Right.
Versus show them how this works.
Yep. So basically, you're able to one-hand operation, pull that down, open the box up. Whether it's a glove box or in a lot of cases they're even used on different access doors or deck hatches. And this one, again, very easy to close, right? You just slam it. That's where they got the nickname for slam latch.
Yep.
And again, very secure, right? Once it holds in there with the catch aligned correctly, it's not going anywhere.
Yep. So it's a spring-loaded pawl that hits against a striker plate that you mount on the inside of the box. So pretty simple, pretty straightforward. But one of the things we want to talk about is there have been, over the years, a variety of different slam latches that were more popular than others. New boat builds aren't using these quite as much. Now, these are the plastic versions of the same thing that we were just looking at here. And they're rigid plastic, and they're fine, and they look good. You've got black, you've got white, and even down here, we're looking at like an off-white color. But the problem is, like anything that's plastic on the boat, it has a limited lifetime. I feel good if we're getting 5 years or so out of it before the area around the face here
oxidize. What up would just
it'll
wear
crack.
And tear
It'll crack.
Over time.
This will crack, and it is UV stabilized, but it's not the same color after 3 years in the sun. It does fade a little bit.
I just replaced my windshield wipers this last week. It kind of same thing, right? The little clip that goes in there that's ABS plastic. Over time, it starts to wear out.
Totally.
Same deal as that.
And I think most people would probably argue that the upgrade from the plastic to the stainless really dresses up the boat a lot. Like, it looks a lot more finished and nice. So I wanted to talk about just how easy that is. So before we go into the different options, let's talk about installation, because this is like a nothing project.
Yep.
In this case, we've got a glove box sitting right here, and this glove box has a white plastic latch. So I'm going to hand it to you real quick.
Awesome.
Yeah. And we don't have the catch installed on here, so it's going to pull out when we do it. But when you fold this thing out, there is a plastic catch on the back.
Or backing plate.
Backing plate, excuse me. Yeah, thank you. Keep me in line. That screws on with 2 bolts. Literally just 2 bolts. You can even screw it in with your fingers and come in here and tighten it with a screwdriver. So you're going to come in on your plastic latch and pull the backing plate off, and your latch is going to slide right out.
Here we go.
When you're coming behind it,
you got an open hole here, right?
You got an open hole, and you are setting your new stainless steel or any other style latch back through the same hole, like that. The sound effects. Setting your new backing plate on the back and tightening in 2 bolts. You fold it up, you're good to go. You've upgraded your latch. So I'm not going to have you sit here and watch me screw in 2 bolts, but it is a piece of cake update. It's not the cheapest update. Each of these are probably in the $25, $30 area.
Right.
But you can take your all of your cabinets that all have cheaper plastic flush latches, and upgrade them to really high-end, nice stainless latches.
So one of the things that I thought of as we were going through and doing that installation, it sounds like everything's pretty much a 1-to-1, right? You're going from plastic to stainless steel. On this one, there is a consideration. I think we get a lot of questions on the website of, well, how do I know what it is, right? We're really taking the hole cutout dimension.
That's the critical dimension. You're absolutely right. And the vast majority, I would say over 95% of the flush latches that we sell are, I hate the number because it's 2.41. That doesn't really matter. A little bit under 2.5 inches, but they fit a 2-inch hole cutout. So if you're pulling your other latch out and you quickly measure and you have a 2-inch diameter hole, then the standard 2-inch, 2.5-inch flush latches slide right in and are a 1-for-1.
So the 2.41 you were giving is the outside diameter of this trim that drops around. But the 2 inches you'll see on the back side here, there's a little bit of a bezel that goes around the latch. right? So that bezel is what makes this be able to drop into a 2-inch hole cutout and have a little bit of room.
And
right?
lets the backing plate sandwich that little bit of overlap.
And most of the doors that we're making, live well lids, access doors, glove boxes, with very few exceptions, are all this 2-inch hole cutout.
Absolutely. And taking it even a step further, the next step beyond the hole cutout size is the panel thickness. And like I said, 95% are 2-inch hole cutout. I would say 95% of what you're installing these flush latches in are 1/2-inch thick panel doors. Now you might, when you measure it with a caliper, you might be off by a 32nd, a 16th, because some panel thicknesses might run a little bit heavy or thin, and there is some slop. It's actually like 0.4, let me actually search and see what it is. I think it's 0.475 to 0.675, but effectively most of these are designed to fit in 1/2-inch thick doors.
It's not going to go 3/4.
No.
It's just under 1/2 inch.
No, although we do have some solutions if you are one of the special unique ones that have maybe a very thin door, maybe you're trying to fit it on a 1/4-inch thick small e-box door, or something very
they've beefed
thick.
up some type of a console door that's made out of fiberglass rather than acrylic, or starboard that's 1/2 inch.
And that's really the exception rather than the rule. The big takeaway from this, if there is any, I hope, is, hey, look, there's a lot of different style flush latches. There's plastic, there's stainless. If you have plastic, it's very easy to upgrade to stainless, and 95% of what's out there is a 1-for-1. I'm going to take this out and I'm going to put this in. With the last bit of time, I do want to talk about some of those edge cases, some of the unique, the last 5%. Hopefully that doesn't freak anyone out, because the vast majority of it is, hey, look, this is a super easy 1-for-1 project.
Boom, 1-to-1. And another thing, while we were talking about switching this out, before we get into the edge cases, right? So this is plastic. We were going to stainless. Another alternative to that is that, hey, look, I've got valuables I keep on this when I go to the dock, right? Yeah. So here's a non-locking. These are probably more prevalent on most of the boats, on all the different access doors. Well, if you want to throw something in there, you're pulling up the river and you want to go to a bar and have a drink, and you don't want to worry about your rods or anything getting stolen out of the boat. So that's the same thing, right? You can go from here's a non-locking to a locking version pretty quick and easy as well, right? Lower price, higher price because of the added feature, but again, the same installation process. Quickly change it out.
And I'm glad you said that, because that's probably equally common from an upgrade thing is, plastic to stainless or non-locking to locking.
Yep.
1-for-1, boom, simple project.
While we're on the locking, non-locking, do you want to talk about keys at all?
Keys, yeah. So we get requests pretty regularly. I'm going to let you in on a little bit of an industry secret, for better for worse. We get requests often to key latches alike, flush latches alike, and our answer is always yes. Sure. Sure, no problem, absolutely.
We got you.
And the reason is because all of these actually are keyed alike. So there are not any flush latches that we currently sell or that are on the market that we know of that actually have separate key codes for these. So it's important to understand that when you're buying a locking latch, you are buying a level of security, but this is really to keep the honest people honest. It's to keep the curious hands who touch a latch and see that it doesn't open from not opening it and stealing something. This is not going to stop the thief who wants to come in and rip open your door. Because at the end of the day, it's not that hard to use a crowbar or buy a key and have a key to all the different flush latches that are out there. So
I actually found
that
pretty interesting, right? I didn't know that until you informed me starting working here at Teak Isle. It's pretty amazing, right? A lot of the things people probably would keep on their boat.
It is, but the flip side of it is, you think how annoying it would be
to have a key ring
to have a
fall
key
in
ring,
the water.
Right? Well, and or hey, this my live well lid, although you wouldn't really have a lock on a live well lid, but my cabin door key is different from my tackle box key, right? And there's however many 100 different key codes. You're trying to match those all up and get them all right. So in that way, it's convenient, because if you did buy 7 of these, because they're used 7 different places, that one key is going to work on all 7 places, right? You're locking. Sure. In some cases, some of the drawer units might have 7 different drawers.
Yep.
Right. So to have different key codes would be a little bit unmanageable. But that is a good point, something to know. Some of the other things is we haven't really hit on size. Again, 95% of them are the 2.41 that fits in a 2-inch hole cutout, but there are two different sizes. You held up the large one here, and that one is, let's see.
I'll show it relative to the smaller. This is the same 2-inch that we talked about. This is a larger one that fits the 2.5-inch hole cutout.
2.5-inch hole cutout, and the outside bezel is 3-inch. So we have that available, and that's an interesting upgrade for like a cam latch. And a cam latch, again, is your lift and twist.
Right.
There's a lot of these bigger cam latches that are used in different deck lids.
Yep.
Now, if you wanted to try to replace one of those with a slam latch, because maybe you hated having to lift and twist that, and sometimes you kick it, your toe kicks it because you left the latch up,
right.
Or your son forgets to twist it back and slams it back down and it mars the fiberglass. There's a lot of reasons to prefer flush latches as opposed to cam latches. Now, you'd have to get a little bit creative with that deck hatch for figuring out where you're going to place that catch. And in some cases, you might have to add a little bit of a block. That's a more involved installation. That takes someone who knows what they're doing. But there are more people that are going to slam latches, even on just fiberglass deck hatches now,
right.
And subbing that out from the cam latch for a variety of reasons.
Sure. So that covers one, going larger. We've got something smaller here.
So going smaller. This is a relatively new. I mean, it's probably been out for 3 or 4, maybe 5 years, but it hasn't been around forever. This is a smaller slam latch, and this one fits in a, let's see, I wrote it down. It fits in an 1.5-inch hole, and the bezel is 1 3/4. Again, it's designed to fit 1/2-inch thick panels, and it's really the only use case is if your door is so small that you don't have room for a 2.5-inch latch, or 2.41. I apologize. The reason I say that is this is actually a more expensive latch than this, believe it or not, and I'm not entirely clear why. I think it has something to do with usage. There's hundreds of thousands of these that are used every year, where there's maybe a couple thousand of these that are in the field, but it also might be the fact that just the locking mechanism and the detailed small metal pieces that are going on inside
it's
might
the
be
super
more
chip, microchip, right?
It's just a smaller
more technology
version.
Maybe.
But the big takeaway is if you have a smaller say glove box door, this is an option, and we do use these in some cases when you cannot fit a 2.41, the standard,
like the
2-inch
smaller
cutout.
glove boxes, right? We've kind of gone away from a size limitation just because of the expense of engineering that with this latch. But the smaller glove box, when you're in there, the latch won't fit basically into the door. There's not really a way to have that latch catch into the glove box.
Yeah, as you get too small, there's a swing, right? It's mounted in a door here, and it swings, and trying to make sure that catch can clear the inside return of the door and catch onto a latch.
Yep.
But the cool thing is, for the most part, that's not something that you as an individual boat owner would be worrying about. That's something that just we have in our tool belt when you're calling us about, hey, I've got this unique little space I'm trying to fit something on. Now we have this, and we're able to do some cool stuff with this that you couldn't do. Hey, maybe we can build a small little glove box to fit your phone and wallet,
right,
and it'll work, where we couldn't have if this was our only option.
Yep. And on this conversation, it's basically, hey, all you need to worry about is, do you want plastic, metal, locking, non-locking?
For sure.
What size do you need? And do you have a screwdriver to screw in 2 bolts?
And then the last thing, which is actually a good segue, is there are a few other unique styles that have been popular at different points in time, and we still sell some of them now. So
I'd like to go, I know we talked about size difference and size variance. One thing we didn't cover is the panel thickness, right?
We didn't cover the panel thickness, and you're right. Okay, so let's talk panel thickness before we talk styles. So the majority of these latches, like I said, are designed to fit 1/2-inch thick panels. But if you have say a 1/4-inch panel or a 3/4-inch panel, we have a few select products, and we'll actually switch over to the website and I'll show you those products. Give me 1 second here.
I'll hold up the samples here.
Sure. So these top three,
Yep.
The stainless, the white plastic, and the black plastic here are sold in kits with 2 backing plates. And on the product page, you can actually see that we have this thin and this thick backing plate. And the thing that allows us to do is have a much wider range of panel thickness. You can see right here that this can actually work from a 0.075 all the way up to a 0.875. So this will work all the way up to a 7/8 thick panel, and all the way down to I'm not sure what exactly, 0.075, but very thin, probably more thin than you would ever need it to be.
So even easier. You buy that, you got the whole kit.
Yep.
You don't even need to worry about panel thickness.
And to be clear, you're only using one of these. You're just selecting whichever one allows you to tighten that bolt down.
Yep.
So if you ever need a non-half-inch version, you'll want to use these. They're a little bit pricier given the fact that they're designed for aftermarket, and they have the different panel thicknesses and different instruction sheets that come with it. Whereas this one is very similar. So if I was shopping, I would probably select this latch if I knew I had a half-inch thick panel. It is the same quality as this latch, but it comes with only one backing plate, so it only works with a half-inch thick panel.
Yep.
When we're working in production, we primarily use this latch. It's cheaper, and it fits a half-inch panel, and that's the vast majority of what we do. We wouldn't use this more expensive one that has the different backing plates. So this is really more of a niche product, one that you would use if you had a thin or a thick door. So let's switch back over here. So then the next thing, like I had started to talk about, is the style. So these are what we call, and I think these are all internal names, but you can use them. These are what we call a D-style latch, and I think it's self-explanatory. You can see it's kind of a D shape. And there are two other styles that have been used throughout the years. One we call the bird style latch, and you've got it up here, right? And I think you can probably see why we call it the bird style. It kind of looks like a bird talons there. And like, for example, I know that was used for years by Scout. I don't know if they still use them. They might, but I know there's plenty of that style in the field. So
functionality-wise, I mean,
one for one. Exact same thing. Yeah, fits. These all fit half-inch only, right? But the catch location is all the same. Fits in the exact same 2-inch hole. It's 2.41-inch bezel.
You don't need to change the catch location, anything like that.
Nope.
You're basically same thing. 2 bolts out.
Yep.
2 bolts in.
If you were a guy that said, "Hey, I just don't like the look of this, and I think this looks way cooler,"
boom, birds
I want
time.
the bird style latch. That is not a problem at all.
That's cool.
So then the other style that was used for a variety of builders, I know Everglades used that for a long time and might still, is the slim style latch. And it's again literally a 1-for-1, same exact thing, fits in a 2-inch hole cutout, 2.5 inch, 2.4 overlap, and you're good to go. The last product is a little more niche. I know this is one that you recently added, and maybe you could kind of pitch and explain.
Yeah, so this is actually a really cool latch from Marinetown. Recently came out with it about a year ago here, and you can see that it's completely flush on the top of it, right? So you don't have anything here that's a toe kick hazard. The primary installation for this, for them, is for a live well lid. The reason for that is that it's completely sealed. The back of this housing is completely sealed versus this. You get some splash up in your live well that over time salt water is going to start corroding that lock. Really great material, high quality. This is just their solution to that. One of the things that's pretty unique, again, is that this button depresses so that you're able to pull this latch up to get into your live well.
I didn't know
right?
that.
So as it comes up, you're able to pull that. Then additionally down here, there is an adjustment. So the same way for your catch location, if you have this spring-loaded pawl and it needs to go up or down, you're able to adjust that with a little Allen key that comes part of it to catch that latch in the proper location.
That's pretty cool. So the installation is even more forgiving because you can adjust not only the catch location,
Correct.
but you can catch how far the pawl catches.
Very similar, right? I mean, 1, 2 bolts here. You drop it through the hole, you just tighten it down, and again, like you said, more forgiving with it.
Going back to the fact that it's a full, right, and it's filled in. These latches, they're not too bad, but they're not the best thing to be standing on, right? Because your foot sits, even when it's in the closed position, your foot or your heel sits, it's got this negative space, that can be a little bit uncomfortable.
Hammer toe.
So sometimes we get requests for this specifically because it's much more comfortable to sit on. I think it's also waterproof, right?
Correct.
Is that waterproof? And if you don't know this, we'll find this out after and post it. Is that waterproof this direction or this direction?
I think both, right? And again, I don't want to venture to say both, but I know that it's waterproof from the bottom side up.
Right. So again, for the live well, you don't want the salt water hitting all these locking mechanisms, but I think you're correct. I remember hearing that Marinetown had come out with a waterproof flush latch, which is also a consideration, something to think about, right? So especially if you're using this on a deck hatch, it's going to get rained on,
right,
and the stuff will puddle inside of this,
which you
right?
don't have to worry about that.
And it is not water. These are not waterproof. It'll be slow and it'll be a drip, but the water will puddle in that D handle, and it will slowly drip down through. Now that's not an issue for doors that are vertical, right? Because they're not going to get any water. Any spray you get, it's not going to get in there, and it's fine. But if you're mounting this horizontal, it will puddle and it will drip through. And I am 95% sure, 95 is my number today, that this is not going to drip. In fact, if we'll confirm that after, and if that's wrong, we'll post it in the comments. But I'm almost positive this is waterproof. So cool. That's a lot about latches. If there's anything else in the comments that you could think about.
Is there a question over here?
So that's a great question, Sarah. He says, do the stainless steel latches hold up in the salt water? And they do. That's when we talk about the types of replacement projects, and we're talking about plastic to stainless, or we're talking about non-locking to locking, there's a reason we're not talking about stainless latches to stainless latches, and that's because these really don't fail. And if you're thinking about that and going, hey, I can get 5 years out of these, or I can get until I sell my boat or retire my boat, or upgrade, hopefully, you're not going to have issues with any of these stainless latches. I'm trying to think of how. I don't know that I have ever heard of one really failing.
Not from a slam latch.
Not from a slam latch, no.
Yep.
They do hold up really well. Awesome. Well, can you think of anything else?
Nope, that's a lot on latches. I think everybody what they needed to know. If they don't have anything, they can comment to us, right? Ask
comment,
extra
reach
questions.
out to us.
Other ideas that you want to hear about, we're welcome and open to that.
Very good. Well, we appreciate your time. Thanks and have a great day.